Because it's happened. November 4th, 2012, Pittsburgh Zoo. Mother lifts her 2-year-old over the railing for a better view. Mother ignores several warnings and signs. Mother somehow lets child slip, and Maddox Dirtkosh fell, bounced off a safety net meant only for phones and cameras, and touches her inside the
This, okay, now here's where your argument applies of like, blaming the parent. They've been warned, they've been told not to do it, and look what happened. We got some casual Geographic today. By the way, this is an older video because we are trying to like catch up because, we've been missing a lot. Why Harambe's death was the right choice for the wrong reason.
The right choice for the wrong. Right choice. Why did we?
I don't know. We about to find out. And also, I feel like this is the perfect time for this video too because there's a lot of like, the one gorilla versus 100 men. So we got the ultimate gorilla. We got Harambe.
Yeah, for sure.
So if he didn't die, bro, he would have taken out all of civilization, bro. Stop playing with me. All right, anyway, shout out to Casual. There'll be a link to the original video down below. Go check it out.
If you want to inflict emotional damage on a millennial, remind them that the Harambe kid either is or is about to be a teenager. In a couple months, it'll be a year short of a decade since the gorilla was prematurely perp-walked off the census. And despite being named after a Swahili term for coming together, Harambe's death has been no less divisive. But the closer you get to the full story, with crucial context, the question becomes less of whether the zoo was right for turning the legacy of Bob Marley into a hashtag, and more of everything that went wrong to force the zoo to pull the trigger. Because Harambe's death was the right choice for the wrong reasons. Now hear me out, I'm not blaming the gorilla, in fact quite the opposite. Literally everyone involved but the gorilla ultimately failed him, and in about 10 minutes, I'm gonna show you just how horrendous Harambe got done. The same 10 minutes it took for them to end him.
Damn.
Yeah, I agree.
Flashback to 2016. Eggs were $1.68, a light skin and Under Armours was no-scoping entire teams, and Kanye was still Kanye.
Yeah.
When he made graduate, all was good. Until the 3-year-old canon event changed.
Hey, bro, 2016 was one of the greatest years of all time, bro. Like, till this day.
Was hype.
Yeah.
2016, 2017 was tough. I ain't gonna lie.
For me, it was 2016. Yeah, 2017 and 2018. That was like, for me, peak music year. Like, I don't know what it was, but I was tapped in with everything, bro. So many albums came out. Like, man.
Of mankind. On May 28, 2016, a mother took 4 children to the Cincinnati Zoo and got to the gorilla world habitat when the youngest boy said he wanted to go swimming with the gorillas. She went back literally and then turned around to start putting kids in strollers when she heard a splash, followed by immediate screaming. Like any other human, she went to the railing, and that's when her mind took an indelible screenshot when she realized
Cincinnati 911.
Hi, my son fell in the zoo exhibit at the gorillas. There's a male gorilla standing over him. I need someone to contact the zoo, please. He's dragging my son. I can't watch this.
In an unfortunate case of free will, the 3-year-old climbed the 3-foot fence, army crawled through 4 feet of bush, and before anyone could grab him and save the timeline, he fell 15 feet straight into the gorilla.
Oh my god, this is scary, bro.
Bro, this is why you need to watch your kids, bro.
Yes.
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like, put a leash on that dude. You know how they having them kid leash?
But that's the problem, though, because I mean, I don't want to blame the mom. Obviously, we're not like too into the story yet. But like, right? He said like she went to put something on the stroller or something, turned around and he was gone. That's how quick it could be. Like,
that's why I put a leash on him. Like, I feel like, cause I be seeing those where they have the thing that is tied around the kid's hand and then it's like connected to your backpack or just you in general. Bro, I feel like if it's something like that, I'm keeping my kid around me, bro. You don't know, somebody could snatch your kid up, or like in this instance, they fall in a freaking pit with gorillas. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
The 3-foot fence, army crawled through 4 feet of bush, and before anyone could grab him and save the timeline, he fell 15 feet straight into the gorilla mode, where he was confronted by 450 pounds of adult primate. Harambe didn't seem especially aggressive, but watching him ragdoll the toddler likely took years off his mother's life. No one could say what was going through the gorilla's mind at the time. But we know what went last, because at about 4:10 p.m., about 10 minutes after the boy fell in, a member of the Cincinnati Zoo Dangerous Animal Response Team life-retired Harambe with a bullet to the head. And life as we knew it was never the same. The slain simian was mourned by millions and memed by even more, to the point where there are people who use their right to vote on the corpse of a Kennedy gorilla, and that is the most political statement that will ever come out of this channel. Before we can judge what had to be an impossible decision, it's only fair to look at every angle, starting with the nature of gorillas. Gorillas aren't the menaces to society and skyscrapers we thought they were. Male gorillas are way more child-friendly than the average orang and chimpanzee. It's been said that the males that babysit more are considered more attractive to a tribe of hairy women. That's how they got their name. And being good with kids is more of a turn-on than size, strength, or status. It's proven that guy gorillas on daycare duty will have 5 times as many children as those that avoid it, which is probably why they fight so hard for
all you fathers out there that like to abandon and you know what I'm saying? Why don't you try some of that?
Deadbeat.
Why don't you take care of your child? Maybe you'll see more attractive. How about that, bro? Come on, man. Anyways,
you've never seen a gorilla hit the burners like that. But gorillas don't need Maury. They'll even step up for children that aren't theirs. A couple years back, the alpha gorilla of a group in Rwanda got sick. And since in sickness and in health is a human construct, the 4 gorillas of the group left, abandoning not just their baby daddy, but their progeny as well. With the infants barely old enough to feed themselves, it should have been curtains. But this story had a plot twist. The sick male had a brother, Kubaha, and Unc stepped up and looked after them. They'd sleep in his nest, treat him like a literal jungle gym, and he single-handedly kept the next generation up. And Kubaha wasn't an anomaly. In 53 years of gorilla research, it's proven that orphan mountain gorillas that lose their mothers early on don't have a greater risk of becoming a statistic because the males will often step in. Not only did a different study show the exact opposite happens to baby chimps, monkeys, and baboons that get the Bambi treatment, even if they do survive, they inherit 0 social rank and virtually no chance of having
what the hell?
It's the same story for animals like elephants, orcas, and hyenas. Being motherless is social cyanide, but not gorillas. Having one mom short of a full house, has 0 effect on their social status, and it's believed that since mama gorillas often dip out before their babies mature, the males have evolved to cushion the blow. Plus, with chimpanzees murking monkeys, bush babies, that's a bush baby, and even doikers for food, and even the good vibes tree hippie known to turn lorises into lunch meat, gorillas pretty much being knuckle-walking lawnmowers probably doesn't hurt Harambe's case. Gorillas go out of their way to avoid conflict, and you really won't see them beating on something weaker than they are, unless it is something to deserve it. But there's always a but. The rules of nature often change when you're talking about captivity.
We're low-key learning. See, we like the 100 men versus a gorilla thing. By the way, bro, men are going to win. 100 are not going to come out alive. Some of them are going to die for sure.
Most of y'all are dying.
But they're going to win because of this. Listen to the facts. And another thing, I don't know if he's going to mention, is like the gorilla's stamina is very low. So after the 10, 15th kill, bro, like that's it. He's done.
He might be packed up.
Captivity. A wild orca has apparently never depulsed a person, but those confined to a glorified fishbowl have a body count. Pandas normally mate, date, and procreate no less than the average black bear, but those in captivity often get less play than Helen Keller's Spotify. In captivity, mother gorillas will often reject their own babies, and it happens a lot more than you would think, so maybe the parental instinct doesn't apply as much to a gorilla behind the glass. No, because if I had a nickel for every time someone's son ended up in a gorilla enclosure, I'd already have 2 nickels by the time player number 3 decided to keep the tradition alive and airdropped himself to the gorilla grotto. On August 16th, 1996, another 3-year-old fell nearly 24 feet into the Brookfield Zoo gorilla exhibit. In a scene you've definitely seen before, 8-year-old Binti Draw climbed down to the boy, cradled him in her gorilla arms for nearly 60 feet, and gently placed him at the employee entrance where officials could get him. But what you might not know was that Binti was one of those gorillas rejected by her mother and was hand-raised by humans. Part of this raising meant her caretakers had to train her to be a mother once she became pregnant with the same baby riding shotgun while she
But is he okay?
Part of this training included handing off her baby to staff for checkups, so there was low-key an argument as to whether this was an actual gorilla guardian.
The baby looked
out.
It
was knocked out.
Yo, I hope he's okay.
Or just an animal doing what it had been trained. Well, almost a decade earlier in 1986, 5-year-old Levin Merritt followed the same script, falling into the gorilla pit and knocking himself all the way out. And 25-year-old Yumbo stood protectively over the boy, gatekeeping any other gorilla from him, and when the child regained consciousness and cried out, instead of matching his energy, the silverback calmly led his family to a small hut on the other side of the enclosure.
Let's get out of here.
Yumbo wasn't human-raised or trained in childcare. This was actual gorilla free will that looked after the injured kid. So now you might be confused because if you were on Harambe happening, hearing about their social psychology and the gorilla history lesson would have surely kicked you onto the Harambe side. Well, every gorilla is different, so let's talk about the story of Harambe. You know, before he became a hashtag.
All right,
Harambe
talk
was
to me.
born in the Gladys Porter Zoo in Brownsville, Texas, May 27th, 1999, meaning he had just turned 17 when he got sniped. Just like Binti, he was also rejected by his mother Kayla when he was only 3 weeks old. So, zoo director Jerry Stone hand-raised Harambe, taking him home. The tiny gorilla was by all means his family. Jerry was actually the one to help Harambe's grandparents settle in after they arrived from Africa, and he was even there at Harambe's birth, cutting the umbilical cord. He changed diapers, got up at midnight to feed him. Nobody had put in more Harambe hours than Jerry. Jerry described him as a lovable troublemaker. He'd do things like throw water at female keepers and run away. He'd steal blankets just to give keepers an excuse to chase him. He'd even climb walls to get his keepers' attention just so he could fall backwards and make them catch him. By every account, Harambe meant well, but there was a point where Jerry stopped getting in the cage with him. Not because he was aggressive, but as he got bigger and stronger, there was a legitimate chance he could accidentally roughhouse Stone into eternal submission. But Jerry also noted that Harambe always looked after his siblings, fully embracing the big brother role. But on January 6th, 2002, before Harambe was even 3, someone left chlorine cleaning tablets way too close to a space heater, causing a leak of toxic chlorine gas that suffocated the gorillas.
Oh my God.
Zookeepers immediately called EMTs, and by administering oxygen, they were able to revive 8 of the gorillas. But there were 3 that never woke up. Harambe's mother, brother, and sister. Yeah, Harambe got hoed by humanity long before Cincinnati. Speaking of which,
Yo, GG,
bro, RIP, bro. That's like, bro, put that on a human. Imagine, well, don't imagine, but like,
how would you feel?
How would you feel, bro?
Yeah, like, can only imagine how you would feel.
Yeah. Now, okay, so this is probably gonna obviously lead him into acting a certain way. Because if he was already a troubled like but meant well. There you go.
Yeah.
But I feel like now he's gonna be troubled, but actually meant something else.
Which almost 10 years later, in 2014, Harambe was now 15, and time came for him to be relocated to hopefully start his own troupe. Jerry actually pushed for Harambe to be sent to Cincinnati. That way he could contribute to their breeding program. And in September, the gorilla named after a Bob Marley song was transferred to the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden. And less than 2 years later, he would exist only as a statue. So there, now you have more background information than 90% of anyone who's given their opinion.
Yes, thank
Everything
you.
so far points against Harambe being a threat to the toddler. Yet experts like Jane Goodall, Jack Hanna, and primatologist Franz de Waal all seem to agree the zoo made the right choice. And I'm with them. Harambe had to die. But why?
Yeah,
basically,
please.
It was the best of a bad situation. A lot of people say tranquilizers, but tranks don't work the same way they do on TV. It can take 10 minutes to take effect, even longer when the animals turned up. There was a story of 2 polar bears wandering too close to town in Churchill, Manitoba, and the first bear was slept and put in polar bear jail. Yes. But the second bear had no reaction to the same trank. If anything, it probably made him mad. But the real reason tranquilizing wasn't an option. This is Cha-Cha the chimp. Cha-Cha went full season and escaped the Yagiyama Zoo in Japan, and I want you to see what happened the moment he got dark.
He got tight.
That man was a second away from becoming an Instagram reel. Animals don't understand the concept of anesthesia, but they do understand getting shot in the back, and in those 10 minutes to take effect, Harambe could have been the most dangerous gorilla outside of Hollywood.
Yeah,
because
what if he didn't even hold on to that wire and just jumped on him? Yeah, so that's true. He could have got
getting shot too with a tranquil. He probably would have ripped that baby up.
Yeah.
If he got tight, I don't know.
Have the keeper rescue the kid while distracting Harambe, but here's the thing. The moment the kid fell in, zoo officials signaled for all the gorillas to come inside. The 2 females complied, but Harambe,
he said nah.
He was also using free will. Clearly he wasn't in the mood to cooperate. The last argument is that Harambe wasn't hurting the kid. In fact, it looks like he was protecting him. I actually agree. I think the father instinct was doing a lot of heavy lifting, but here's the thing. Harambe was a 450-pound immature teenager who never had a kid or was trained for it. He could have killed that kid completely by accident. This isn't 25-year-old Yambo. Young gorillas play rough, and one hard pull could rip his arm out of the socket, and too hard of a drag could bash the 3-year-old's head against a rock. Also, Harambe was clearly stressed out. The situation was a time bomb. The little boy freaking out and screaming, suddenly running away, or even just looking Harambe in the eye could have been enough to light the fuse. And speaking of time, don't forget, that kid was in gorilla custody for 10 minutes. Might not seem like much to you, but let it be your bloodline. 10 minutes will feel like and cost you 10 years. Now, what they should have done, in my non-professional online opinion, was get anyone who wasn't a keeper, paramedic, or zoo vet, get him out of there, form a perimeter, something. I feel like all this could have been avoided if you didn't have a whole coliseum yelling at my mans. Silent game would have been golden, but at that point, it was too late for all that, and so the last option meant erasing an endangered species and future father. You don't like it, you don't like it, nobody's happy, but let's be real. Think about what the conversation would be if that kid became a chalk outline right there. Well, I can tell you.
Exactly. Let's say the kid, let's flip it. Let's say the kid is, done with. Bro, the zoo would have gotten sued. Everybody would have.
Oh, yeah,
y'all should have done this, that. Y'all should have killed. Y'all should have shot this. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day, they still gonna complain no matter what.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you.
But here's the lesser.
Complain when they killed him.
Yeah, but here's the lesser of two evils or whatever it is. Would you rather the gorilla? Or would you rather the baby?
I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody's happy. But let's be real. Think about what the conversation would be if that kid became a chalk outline right there. Well, I can tell you. Because it's happened. November 4th, 2012, Pittsburgh Zoo. Mother lifts her 2-year-old over the railing for a better view. Mother ignores several warnings and signs. Mother somehow lets child slip, and Maddox Sturkosh fell, bounced off a safety net meant only for phones and cameras, and
this is what I'm saying.
Inside the
okay, now here's where your argument applies of like blaming the parent. This you can blame the parent. They've been warned. They've been told not to do it, and look what happened.
They ain't listen.
Exactly. The other one though, like I said, she turned around, put something in the stroller, turned around, he was gone. Like that happens all the time. Unfortunately, you would want, the baby to be watched or like kept on a leash, like you said, or some shit. That sounds kind of crazy. But
I mean, they have them. Shit. Hey,
listen,
but I'm trying to keep my kids safe because them little dudes or girls, they too damn fast. Like you blink and they gone. Like you really need to be watching them, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, that happened. But okay, let's see.
Problem was, the toddler landed with the African wild dogs. The most efficient pack hunters in Africa. The ones infamous for turning body to buffet before it can pass away. Look, I can spare you the details. Just know it was quick, it was gruesome, and there was nothing anyone could do. The Drakashas would file a wrongful death lawsuit against the zoo, seeking $300,000 because you can't put a price on life, but you can pay a lawyer to try. The family and the zoo would reach a confidential settlement. The endangered dogs were all relocated, except for the one shot by cops, and the entire exhibit was repurposed for another endangered African predator, the cheetah. For the longest, I thought the zoo got screwed, but what I never knew was that in May of the same year, some of the same wild dogs dug out of their den and got the entire zoo put on lockdown. As early as 2007, a member of the zoo safety committee explicitly warned of guests dangling children over the exhibit opening and advised them to install plexiglass to cover it. But no changes were made until a kid got eviscerated 5 years later. Now, I don't think I'm letting the mom off. I got a lot of thoughts. And they're all explicit.
That's the same one, yeah.
Liable and negligent, and it cost them and the dogs. Even though common sense would have saved the day. But common sense would have been a godsend on Christmas Day, 2007, San Francisco Zoo. Look, we've all heard the story of Tatiana, the venge-lusting tiger, so here's what we know. 3 guys, 17-year-old Carlos Sousa Jr. and the 19 and 23-year-old Dullywell brothers taunted a Siberian tiger. Pine cones and sticks were likely thrown at the tiger. The brothers' father admitted that the boys were drunk. Tatiana escaped, murked Sousa, and mauled the brothers until she was eventually shot by cops. And the Dullywell family settled a suit against the zoo for $900,000.
Are we dead ass?
The family settled a wrongful death suit for an undisclosed amount. And both brothers would use their second chance at life to get into several run-ins with the law. One including a drunken fight with police, and the younger brother would pass away in 2012.
Yeah, this is like, I don't. What am I supposed to feel about this? Like, come on.
Honestly, they ain't got no brain cells.
This is like, come on, man. Like, really, you were literally, bro, you're up against. What do you say, a Siberian tiger? You were given literally a second chance at life, bro. And look at the consequences of your actions. This is what you do with it. And given money. Not that, I don't want to get into the argument of, money doesn't equal happiness, but like, at least you got a head start, bro, or something. Yeah. And this is what happened.
Closed him out. And both brothers would use their second chance at life to get into several run-ins with the law. One including a drunken fight with police. And the younger brother would pass away in 2012 due to unknown causes. By every metric, they fucked around and found out. And the 2 that lived came up almost $1 million off it. But 2 things can be true. The zoo screwed up bad because days after the attack, they said the moat Tatiana had escaped from was at least 20 feet tall. Turns out it's 12 and a half. A full 4 feet lower than federal safety standards. And if you know tigers, that is one of an oopsie. But also, after killing Sousa, Tatiana tracked the brothers down. But because cafe employees refused to let the 2 in, the Siberian Fury pulled up outside the cafe and mauled them again. It took 6 full minutes for zoo employees to realize that the brothers weren't drunk idiots screaming. They were drunk idiots screaming, but not lying about a tiger John Wicking them. Because the zoo was under a Code 1 lockdown, it took another 5 minutes for zoo security to let police and fire units in. Those extra 10 minutes mean a lot when you're actively getting turned out by a tiger. And it probably would have saved Sousa's life. Two things can be true. Tweedledee, dim and dumbass pissed off an apex predator and earned themselves a nomination for a Darwin Award while getting an endangered species past tense in the process. But the zoo was also painfully negligent in every aspect, especially since just a year before, keeper Lori Cummingen was mauled by the same tiger while feeding through the enclosure's grill, and Tatiana's temper tore the skin off her arm, resulting in several surgeries, skin grafts, and California OSHA fining the zoo for safety violations. Lori would also sue and would...
Well, damn, like... Okay, it's one thing to taunt the tiger, right? I feel like that's stupid. I'm going back to the other story, by the way, because I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I guess in a way, you can taunt the tiger, but then again, the zoo having to say the wall was 20 feet, but it wasn't. It was actually 12 and whatever. That's messed up, bro.
That you're just setting yourself up for failure. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
But like, look, I know they be like people like trying to go see tigers and like touch them and stuff. I ain't doing none of that. Look, I'm sorry, bro. Like I can't. After I see that one speed clip where he was in the freaking cage with a tiger or something, and then the tiger started like looking at him funny. It was about to come up to him. He said, "Nah," he dipped out. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
I ain't never touched no tiger, bro. I ain't touched no wild animals. I'm good."
That's an apex predator too.
Also settle for an undisclosed amount. And after Tatiana's final act, the zoo would raise the barrier from 12.5 to 19 feet. So you see, the zoo and Harambe were screwed the moment someone spawned into his enclosure. And really, Harambe was dead the moment he chose free will. In fact, if that child would have died, Harambe certainly would have been past tensed, all the gorillas might have been packed out, and the zoo would have been sued beyond oblivion. The zoo would modify Gorilla World by raising the outer barrier and loading up on netting and fencing. But the real victims here were Harambe, the child, and gorillas as a whole. And as much as I want to dump on the mom, well, the internet's kind of done that already, but kids are walking kamikazes. Not excusing it, because damn it, watch your crotch and the things that come out. But you don't think a kid will, till they do. And mama, I love you, I really do. But when I was about knee high, my mom turned away for a second at the park, and when she turned back, she saw me on the other side of a pond leaning in. And both my parents didn't go in the same boat.
Bro, that happened to me too. Well, not exactly that,
you
but
was in a pond?
No. So my nephew, right?
Yeah.
It was my sister's firstborn. Me and him were literally in the living room, and I had the window open. Now, mind you, the window is, bro, it's like a good amount off the ground. Like you can't just hop over that. Like you can't. So me and him are in the living room. I go to the kitchen, bro. I open the fridge. I look for maybe, 30 seconds, because I'm like, do I want water? Do I want some juice? Whatever. Boom. I get the water. I turn around. He's not there. Bro, he's outside, bro. Thank God I found him, because he was about to cross the street to go over to the park. And bro, he's not gonna look both ways. He's a baby. So he managed to climb out the window, get outside, walk on the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he did that so quick in a span of 30, 40 seconds.
Kids are quick, man.
Catch me before I fell in. Well, we know how that story ends. I also almost got kidnapped. And I only say that now because my mother never lets me forget it. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Drink water, hug your mother, hold your kids. They're stupid. Rest in primate Harambe. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Holy, what a video.
I have been waiting for this day, and it has finally arrived. We have the winner of our contest. It's the Naming the Baby with the Gladys Porter Zoo, and it's the baby gorilla. And we've got the baby gorilla right there, Dan.
That should look fake. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Harambe.
Once again, what does it mean again?
It means pulling together, coming together, sharing and caring about one another.
I ain't gonna lie to you, when I get my own kid, bro, and I go to any type of like public area, I'm putting the leash on you. I don't give a damn. You're not leaving my sight, buddy. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro.
Hey, you're the parent, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want. Just don't look back and look gone.
I mean, you want to look back, you know what I'm saying?
But hey, that was a nice video. I thought it was generally gonna be just about Harambe, but it seems like it's about like zoos accidents, I guess. And I guess he tied it all up to Harambe. That was cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like that.
I like fuck off, you know what I'm saying? Like the goddamn. We got personal. Subscribe to the personal.
Subscribe to the personal channels. You know what I'm saying? If you guys want extra reacts, extra content, extra awesomeness, subscribe to personal. See you tomorrow. Still too stupid.
Type shit.